Good morning.
Good morning. I like that.
Do you?
Yes, I like that a lot.
It's got a
I
little.
like it's actually the music is good. It's a good Monday morning start of the week, groovy, kind of upbeat.
Right. That's the way it's supposed to be, I think.
Well done. Well
Yeah,
done.
thanks.
I want to be a
morning.
part. I want to be a part of that show.
I think you were in it.
Oh,
I think you were in that.
Okay,
Hi, good
cool.
morning. Who's with us this morning? Hello, good morning, Randall. Is it Randy or Randall? So, good morning. Thanks for joining us. Because sometimes it's Randall, sometimes it's Randy. We don't know. So, who's joined us this morning? So, welcome.
Sometimes it's Bob. Sometimes it's Robert.
Oh, I have us on close up today. Ooh, we're on close up. Do you like us better like that? I know.
I like the wide angle perspective, but you can do close up. I just
no, it's okay. I'm fine.
Somebody said to me one time, "You have a face for radio."
The face for radio.
So
sometimes. Sometimes.
So you don't have to close up me.
Hey, good morning, Jax. Thanks for joining us. Hey, Jason. Thanks for joining us. And Larry. There's Larry. Rockin' Randall. He's rocking Randall. We are glad that you're with us this morning on this Monday. Monday.
So it's just starting to turn out to be the man cave morning.
Man cave morning.
Well, do you see any women on this?
Oh yeah.
The man cave morning.
Well.
So we have to now. We're going to have to change the subject unless the ladies jump on here.
Well, we're going to talk about football, aren't we?
Oh, well, do you really want to talk about football? Because
I'm so
from
sad.
Kansas City.
Oh my gosh. It was our first loss. I am so sad. Yeah. Boo. Well. Chiefs. But I love Go Chiefs. Hey, they won the last,
Well, as Heather was bemoaning yesterday on her Facebook page, any team but the Raiders.
Any team
like the one team that nobody in Kansas City wants to lose to, the Raiders.
Oh, so Larry said it's a rockin' Monday. Yeah, man. All right, mugs up. What mug you got today?
Oh, I'm boring. I think, I think? I think
you're boring. You think you're boring?
Well, I think I'm old or something because it's kind of like my mug is sort of like a pair of slippers. You know what I mean? It's like I'm comfortable with this mug. Me and this mug, we kind of have a thing. You know what I mean?
We have a thing.
We have a routine every morning. We see each other, and it's like, my mug,
empty mug. Guess what? I ran out of coffee. Look.
Oh, you're teeing it this morning?
I'm having some tea.
Well, for our British colony listeners, they're probably going, it's about time.
I'm drinking tea. It's lavender Earl Grey tea.
Do you have scones to go with your tea? Scones?
No scones. No scones.
Oh.
I love scones. Oh my goodness.
Well.
They don't love me, but I love them. I'm starting today. I'm starting my 6-week body makeover. Ooh.
Uh-oh.
I know. By the next time you see me, Bob, I'm gonna be cranky. Just a little
really?
Cranky.
Uh-oh.
I might be a little cranky. Well, probably not. It's just this plan I do. You have to eat all this food. Like it's too much food. It's like
oh, really?
Yeah, it's one of those you have to eat every 3 hours.
Is it to keep your metabolism up?
Yep. And it works.
Isn't that odd that you have to eat food to lose weight?
And I know that it's true, and it boosts your metabolism.
I know, but it's one of those things that sort of makes you do a double take. Like, wait a minute, I thought you didn't eat food to lose weight. And then you find out, it's kind of like one of my favorite, not is the experts say, so.
Oh, Larry, Casey didn't choke badly. It was still 32-40.
No.
32-40. Sorry,
yeah, they fell apart though in the second half. The Raiders had their number.
So does it? Okay, you can't see the microphone. Usually when it's in camera, it
Yeah.
looks like a crystal ball. That's what people say. Oh, are you talking in a crystal ball?
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's this cool microphone. It's a blue Nessie.
Uh-huh.
It's like, yeah.
So are you in love with your microphone?
It's the Loch Ness
Are you
monster.
are you petting your microphone? Nice microphone.
Yeah.
So you're having a thing. Now you're
I will
having a thing with
refrain from doing that. Thank you.
Okay. You're refraining from
I'm gonna
petting
refrain.
your nice microphone that you love so much.
I'm gonna refrain
Okay.
because it's not that kind of show. So,
Okay.
my cup says
You were
you
made
were
for
made
this.
for this.
Okay.
On the inside, it says believe in yourself.
Oh, I was going to say, what's the this? You left us
Believe-
hanging in
Believe
this.
in yourself.
Okay.
You're made for
So
this.
the
Believe
this
in
is
yourself.
you. We believe in you, Sandy.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right.
You can do it.
I can
You
do
can
it.
reshape that body. You can be that woman
I
you want to be.
can. In
Exactly.
6 weeks. Ooh, Macabre's come. You need to compliment her for her achievement. Oh,
Exactly. But she
What
hasn't
achievement?
achieved it yet. I'm encouraging her for her potential achievement that we're going to celebrate in 6 weeks.
I know. Party time.
Exactly. So I'm gonna be rooting you on.
It's my genes that need the encouragement.
Your genes. Wait now, is that
My genes are
what-
telling
is
me
it
you need to do
GENES?
something. Yeah.
No, or is it JEANS?
JEANS. My genes said, we don't know if we can withstand this year. It's
Yeah.
getting a little. Thank you, Macabre. Who is Macabre? I don't know who they are. Do you?
Mm-mm.
Well, welcome, Macabre. I mean, that's a little macabre. Am I saying it right? Macabre, right?
Or it could
It
be
usually
Brie.
means pretty kind of. Thank you,
Macabre.
Jason.
It could be Macabre.
Hmm?
Could be Macabre.
No, I think it's macabre.
Well, there
I
you
always
go.
like that word. I
Macabre.
actually do. Look, you're a little macabre. It's almost Halloween. I guess we got to be in a macabre kind of.
Yeah, see, Jason's encouraging you too. So, there's
Yeah,
a few people. We're going to be rooting you on to the finish line.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got out yesterday. And
Wasn't that Nancy Reagan or somebody that had the Just Say No campaign?
just say no.
Yeah, remember when there was
Yeah,
a
she did.
drug campaign?
Yes.
I think it was in the 80s with the
Yeah.
Reagans, and the slogan was Just Say No. So,
Yes.
that's always the battle, isn't it?
It is.
But that
It
looks
is.
so good.
So
That looks so yummy.
what?
Ooh, I really want it. No, I'm talking about how your head starts, kicking in
Yeah.
when you see the thing that you're not supposed to eat.
Well, what's great is, when you live by yourself, you can limit what comes in your house. So
There you go.
as long as you don't have the bad things in the house, you can do it.
So what we really need is an AI to scan you when you come in the door to make sure that you're
An
not
AI.
trying to sneak in contraband.
That would be, hey, let's invent that.
No,
People would actually buy that.
no, we actually already have refrigerators that actually scan your food and tell you all kinds of things like you're out of eggs, you're down to 2 eggs, your milk's low, this is going to expire. I mean, smart refrigerators. Yeah. It
How have
talks.
I never seen that?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I
it's
haven't
one of-
been refrigerator shopping, and I can't tell you when.
Yeah.
A long time.
But I mean, that's where all the technology's headed. It's kind of like our phones. It's like it's kind of dumbed us down in a sense. It made us a little bit lazy. I was
Dumbed us
thinking the
down.
other day because I was driving around town using Google Maps, going, "Wow, this is kind of strange." Because I remember years ago, I'd actually have to open up a book right? I'd have to go to the index, find the street, go to the page, right?
Yep.
Find the street on the page, then calculate out, like my brain had to exercise and actually work at getting somewhere, right?
Yeah. What's
Now
that
I
about?
just press it in my phone and
Oh, I
it
love it.
tells me what to do. I don't even have to think.
So Nora said yes. Nancy was it. Then
Yeah.
Jason, no sneaking in bottles of wine. I guess that's kind of going to be the challenge, actually.
Yeah. The candy?
The no alcohol.
Oh, the no alcohol.
Yeah. Because this is a no alcohol, no
Ooh,
sweet.
yeah, because
No.
wine breaks down to sugar, doesn't it?
Yes. And Michael was going to be really sweet to me right now, which is very, very
Michael?
un-Michael. He's going to give me lots of Halloween candy. Guess not. So do you do Halloween? When I say that, do you?
Oh yeah, I dress up
dress
like
up
a little
and
kid
stuff?
and go house to house just so I can do the film right.
What did she say? Yeah, fridges with
my,
computer.
my kids and my grandkids have all kind of grown up in a world where we kind of don't like doing scary things.
Right.
So we kind of do alternative things where
That's what I thought.
Yeah. Well, it's just, it's maybe some of it has to do with personal history, but just lay it out on the table. When I was in 3rd grade, we had a Halloween at school, and one of the teachers dressed up as a white witch. And the long clawy fingernails and the wild white hair and everything.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know what happened, because maybe it was because she was my favorite teacher and she was like really sweet. Anyways, I went to school and saw her. I was so traumatized by the transformation into this witch. I couldn't get the image out of my head for years.
Oh my God.
I remember the next day, I had a bunk bed and it was right by the window, and I opened up the curtains and there was her face looking at me through the window. And that was my first experience with how scary can really etch into your psyche. You know what I mean? And so maybe I was being overreactive, but I didn't want my kids to have that experience, Yeah. And even with my grandkids, I've got one grandchild who's got that real sensitive sort of prophetic edge to him. And I know exactly what will happen if he can't even watch movies where people get hurt.
Well, I can't. I can't stand horror movies. I don't. Yeah. I've never liked them. Never will. I just am not in that. I'm not in that lane ever.
Right. So I guess
real life is hard enough. I mean, real life is hard enough. We don't need to be scared,
Well, I've never quite understood the logic of why you'd want to traumatize children with scary stuff. It's like we spend all our time trying to make our children feel safe and not scared. And then we have this one night of the year where we go scare, go be scary. And it's like, okay, what's the logic in that?
Yeah.
So anyway, between my personal experience and, my not wanting to make my kids go through that, I limited it to more fun stuff.
Well,
and my daughter's done the same thing with her and my son, and they all do the same thing. So they'll do family things, or they'll go places that, are more.
Well, you're lucky that you guys were on the same page with that. Cause see, my ex he thought that I was being abusive by not allowing them to go and do that.
Oh, really?
And he was mad at me about it. So, so I had to let them, and, I don't know what to say about that. Yeah. Oh, they're all saying hi to each other. Michael says, how about Dracula and Frankenstein? I guess to Dr. Boney.
They're not listening to us. They're
not listening to us at all.
Well,
I mean, there is a controversy over it in the church world, right? So It has a trunk or treat. We always did the alternative, and I was part of children's ministry for a long time, and we would do the alternative.
Right.
But I, as an adult, I like dressing up, once a year. That's kind of fun, right?
Well, I don't have a problem with people.
I'm not celebrating.
I just don't understand the logic of traumatizing children. It's just it just seems, even culturally, right? It's like there's so much out there. We've got a school system and all these things that are all about protecting children, keeping them safe, making them right. And then suddenly on this one night of the year, we all decide, okay, let's all go be scary.
Let's go traumatize children.
And I'm like, okay, we spent a whole year trying to help these kids not be scared. So now let's go be scary, So my kid, it's like, my role with my grandkids, the boys like to either be a policeman, fireman, but mostly superheroes. That's their big thing.
Right.
At 7 and 8 years old,
Michael's
I've got a Batman and a Spider-Man or a Superman or somebody.
Did you see what Michael said you dressed up like?
He dresses up like an Olympic. Yeah, my Speedo. You should see me in my Speedo.
Well, see, I did Marilyn Monroe last year.
Oh, did you? There you go.
Yeah, and I actually was around Michael and Tina, and they didn't know who I was. It was hilarious.
Oh, wow. You fooled Mike and Tina. Wow.
Well, they didn't know who that was. They were like, who is that?
Who is that girl? Marilyn has come back from the dead.
They were like, who is the Marilyn?
Well, we all have somebody that, we sort of resemble. So for years, people always used to call me Steve Austin.
Yeah, you do kind of
the wrestler, the WWE wrestler, Steve Austin. Mm-hmm. So everybody called me.
You totally have that look.
Yeah, except for the difference is I'm like 5'8" and Steve Austin, 170 pounds, well maybe 180, and Steve Austin was it. So I guess I could call me the mini-me version of Steve Austin.
Well, when I was a teenager was the only time I worked in a haunted house. So
oh, yeah.
I worked in a haunted house. So I used to be the dummy that got electrocuted, You'd stand there and then the strobe lights would go on and then you'd push the electrocuted dummy.
Right.
Yeah. Lovely, right?
Exactly. I know.
It was a little traumatic, just a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, the whole history behind Halloween, everything, it's so diabolical, and yet, it's somehow, it's developed. So I know people can find, all kinds of negative things to say about every holiday, and I'm not one of those
that's right
people that likes to, because it's like, well, that's great. That was in the 1500s. We live in 2020, so it's whatever you make it. My issue with Halloween isn't that it's on All Saints Day or it's on the equinox or any of those kind of things. It's just the fact that why do we want to traumatize children with frightening, ghoulish, scary things that they're already terrified of?
Real world is scary enough. But good morning, Desma. Thanks for joining. Okay, Steve Austin wrestles in a Speedo.
Oh gosh,
it's a way to sell decorations and candy. That's true right now.
Yeah, it's marketing. I mean,
oh my goodness, he got kicked out after he punched a guy.
I can see that though. You get so frightened that it's just you have this reaction.
That's the hazardous pay they get.
Yeah,
it was kind of crazy. So. I mean, as an adult, I think that costume parties are fun, but, it's a costume party.
There you go.
So what else is going on in the world? Do we know? I don't.
You have no idea?
Well,
the world is still here.
Is it?
Yeah. So it's Monday.
Did anybody get
October 12th? 2020. So bringing you into the present, Sandy. That's where we are right now today. I
I'm
know
in my
you're an
dream.
alien and only visiting this planet, but just in case you wanted to get your star calendar set right, that's where we are. It's the beginning of a human week. Humans, start work on Mondays, and we work usually Monday through Friday. Some of us work round the clock.
I really. Oh, confirmation as Supreme Court candidate. Oh, there was a confirmation already.
No. That starts.
Oh gosh, that poor
Today
woman.
is when she starts being interviewed, and
I feel so bad for her. Oh my gosh. I
politics.
feel bad for anybody that wants to walk into that office. Oh my gosh.
But
I mean I just can't even imagine that.
But so you're talking about a single situation. Let me just back up and talk about it from a much broader perspective.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the reasons why we struggle right now to find anyone who is really a well-balanced human being entering into the political fray. And what's changed all that is the media.
Yeah.
So what's happened is since Watergate and Woodward and Bernstein's bring down of Richard Nixon,
Mm-hmm.
the media now has this, Shark Tank, blood in the water, red meat for anybody that's in public office. Like they feel like it's their job to go tear that person down, right? To expose them, right? So who wants to live in a glass house? Like who wants your private life, exposed? And so what you're going to see, whether you're on the left or the right of this Supreme Court nomination, you're going to see a woman, right? Like a mom, like a wife, mother of 7 kids, right? This really actually very wonderful human being absolutely gets shredded.
Yeah.
Because of politics. Like
exactly.
There's very few people anymore that want to go through that.
No.
Right? So we're chasing the good people out of politics, and who's doing it is the media.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, on purpose.
Right. No, it's but part of it is part of the media is driven by politics, but then you've got a lot of very ambitious young people that want to make a name for themselves by bringing someone down. That's how that's it. So how we've talked about subcultures, right? That develop in different sectors. Well, there's a subculture within the media that coming up, right? And Woodward and Bernstein were the ones that changed the whole tenor, the whole culture of the media by becoming famous and multimillionaires by toppling someone famous.
Right.
So now everybody else wants to do that. They want to be so you hear the phrase gotcha, right? So there's all these gotcha questions, gotcha statements, it's great. And I just find, sorry, my head's kind of going into the light here because I got a window over here.
Going into the light. Now you're like,
do I go over here and look like I'm in Florida, or to go over here?
Like if you just say
I need to put something over that window. So I'll move over here. Anyways, you see where I'm going with this?
Yeah, and see what Michael said?
What?
He's going to vote for the one with the slap fight. Oh, yeah. I feel bad for anybody going into politics. Well,
a lot of the good ones won't.
Mike thinks I should go for some kind of office. Yeah, no.
Right. So here's what's interesting. So again, let's talk about this from a psychology point of view or sociology point of view. Yes. What you end up getting is a whole lot of narcissistic type personalities going into politics, right?
Yes.
And that's not a left or right statement. That's just a huge, right? So what happens is you get people that want to be the center of attention.
Right.
Going in, driven by needing to be the center of attention, not driven by principle, not driven by purpose, not driven by
really
the good of the country, but driven by their own need for self, fulfillment. So then you start getting a whole nother dynamic happening, right?
Yeah. No, bro.
So anyways, I just feel bad. I just
Yeah.
feel, I feel bad.
Any comment on what happened last week in the debate? Oh my.
Oh, with the VPs?
Yeah, that was horrible. That was
what was horrible?
Well, the aftermath.
Oh, of course.
About the fly.
It's just, again.
That was ridiculous. That was absolutely ridiculous. Like, I was just like, are you kidding me right now?
But see, so again, I'm somebody who stepped, I don't go left or right. And the reason being is that once you get down into the left or the right, then you're biased, right? You suddenly have a bias towards your particular point of view or perspective, your subculture perspective. So what I try to do is step back, right? And not allow myself to, right? And the reason I do that is there's no other way to be objective.
Right.
If once you get into a subculture, the only way that you can stay is you have to be loyal to the subculture worldview.
That's true.
Right. The minute that you ask a probing question or you challenge the subculture's perspective, you're considered a threat and you get rejected. So for me, because I'm always trying to look at things from the perspective of the kingdom of God. So if I have a bias, it's that bias, meaning that I'm trying to look at things from an eternal perspective, from a value, ethical, moral paradigm that Jesus taught.
Right.
And the reason I do that is because he put the DNA into creation. And so I look at it from a very pragmatic point of view that these things that Jesus taught actually would solve practical problems. Like somehow or another, Jesus has been relegated to this religious world, right? And it's like over there in the church.
Yeah.
He's relevant, right?
He probably is not real happy about that, I would imagine.
Well, yeah, somehow it's like he got separated from life. He's just only relegated over here to the church world, right? For Christians.
Right.
So one of the things that I do often.
He wasn't a Christian, by the way.
Right. Exactly.
If anybody knows.
But one thing that I'll do often, right? Well, I've said this, I may have told you this story, but there will be times I'll be in meetings, right? And the situation is chaotic. Like, there's problem, things are falling apart. And I'll make this statement. I say, well, it's interesting because thousands of years ago, there was a philosopher who made this statement. He said, wherever you have selfish ambition, wherever you got ego, or wherever selfish ambition,
edging God out,
or greed, right? The lust for status or stuff, you're going to have chaos and evil, right? And everybody in the room will go, yeah, that's so true, because they're all recognizing the reason we're in this mess right now is because somebody wants something. Somebody has an agenda. Somebody's ego's been hurt. Somebody's ego is striving for something. Somebody's wanting more. They're greedy, right? Everybody recognizes in the room that dynamic is present. So then the next question always is, well, who said that, right? And they're expecting me to say Socrates, Plato, you know what I mean? Descartes, some great philosopher. And I go, well, I just quoted you a line from a letter that a guy named James wrote, and it's in the Bible. And everybody just sits there at the table with their jaw dropped. Oh. But you sneak in the back door, right? Because Jesus said it was the truth that will set you free. It's not the Bible. It's, you know what I mean? It's the truth, these truths, these principles. So sometimes you can get in the middle of some interesting dynamics by just talking about the truth, and people always, end up agreeing with you, not realizing that they're agreeing with the kingdom of God.
Right. Correct.
But sometimes what happens where we shut it down is because we'll go, well, the Bible says, And the minute you say that, everybody's their
They shut
biases
it
all
down.
go up.
They shut it down.
Everything just goes up, right?
They shut it down.
But
Yeah.
when you just say the truth,
And then they go, who said that?
exactly. So I tend to be sneaky that way, in that I'll just start with the truth and then work
You're
my way back
sneaky.
to who said it.
That's awesome.
And then people don't know what to say, right? Because you just back them into a corner, and it's uncomfortable because because so many people have been trained, right, that Jesus is the church thing.
Right.
And you're going, no.
No,
Jesus
if
is
you
about
knew the
life.
real Jesus, you
About
would
life.
know.
Everyday life. So in my view, this is just my perspective, the reason we're in the middle of chaos, right? I think everybody would agree our country is in chaos right now.
Absolutely.
But and part of it's practical because we're dealing with an epidemic. But what's driving the other stuff is something I talked about way back in March, which is an epidemic of narcissism. We've become a culture that's extremely self-centered. So everybody is demanding that their needs get met.
So what other country mirrors that?
What?
Do you think? What other country is narcissistic like this?
Well, I think it's all, I mean, I think the whole Western world's being driven that way.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I don't think it's unique to the United States. It's just we live
Well, that's
here.
why I was wondering what in comparison.
No, I think you see it. I mean, when I'm in Africa, I see it. It's all about me.
Right.
Again, we talked about this the other night. Our parents and grandparents didn't think like that. They thought about community. What's best for the community? What's best for all of us? It's so self-sacrifice was a community service, laying your life down for others were values that were just in their DNA. We've gone long past that. So now what we have is the reason there's so much chaos is that everyone's aggrieved. Everyone is demanding that my needs be met.
Right.
And so we're pulling each other apart. So it's not about laying my life down for others. It's about I demand that you meet my needs. And that's what's created the chaos, right?
Right.
Selfish ambition, greed. You owe me. And so we're fragmented. So
I don't think we're going to get out of this. I don't think.
Well, we could.
I don't think we're going to get out of this.
A transformative sort of thing. So one of two things happen. Either God shows up, and how God shows up is usually he sends his spirit, right? And when that happens, it opens the eyes of men's hearts, and we begin to recognize, oh my God, look at how self-centered I am.
Yeah.
Right. And it brings you to a place of brokenness, right? When you become aware of how driven you are by me, you're like a little vacuum cleaner sucking everything up. So when when you recognize how driven you are by me, it brings you to a place of brokenness, right? Then what happens is that's called conviction. That's the old word for that was conviction. You get convicted of your self-centeredness, right?
That's right.
Well, if that happens, that typically leads you to the next step, which is called repentance, right? Which simply means changing direction. So you change the direction of your life and you go from me to we. You just do a 180, right?
That's right.
And then you get into what the biblical writers talked about, salvation, which everybody thinks is a concept that is transactional, that moves you from hell to heaven. Right? Like that's salvation. It's like a futuristic event. But when you really study Jesus' teachings, it's something that happens every day.
It's a salvation of self.
You're working out. You talk about working out your salvation, right?
Yep.
And the way we do that is by being others conscious. We're dealing with our hearts, our selfishness, right?
It changes the heart.
So the second way that it could change our country is traumatic. So remember what happened after 9/11?
Yes.
Isn't that interesting? Because we were kind of at each other's throats before 9/11. Same thing happened in World War II with Pearl Harbor.
So what, you think we should have a war?
No, I'm just saying, I'm not wanting any of this. I'm just saying that often,
Yeah.
it's kind of like families, right? You see this with families, like your big families, especially. They're like going at each other.
And
Then
there's
somebody
a death.
gets cancer or somebody gets a
There's
life-threatening
right.
thing.
There's a
And
death
what
in
does
the
everybody
family.
do?
They come together and
Right.
they forgive.
Suddenly it's about we, isn't it? It's not about
Yes.
me.
It's
About
funny.
we.
But
We need
it
to
does
be there
happen.
for each other. And so I'm saying, maybe some sort of outside event, and it could be a natural disaster. It could, be another thing, something.
Well, I thought the murder hornets would have done it, but I guess not.
Oh, those they're not. They haven't had the exposure yet. They're still relegated to
I wondered what happened to them. They just kind of fell off.
Yeah. Well, no, it just takes time for those things to multiply.
Well, no, what I think happened is because the fires up there might have got rid of them. Maybe that happened.
Okay. Well, that's possible
It's a
too.
good theory. It's a good theory. We got to shift our focus.
Yeah. So it's a really, I mean, right now is a really good time to sort of step back and just look at who we've become. As we talked about,
it's nauseating.
a few weeks ago during the presidential debate, if you're not realizing what's in front of you, God has put a mirror up in front of us as a civilization, because what you're seeing isn't them, but us.
Right. If that is a projection of who we are, I'm scared.
Well, it is. You should be scared, because that's exactly what we've become.
And that's just like the projection of, oh gosh, where are we headed here? What is happening? And I mean, I'm not going to get political. I know other people think, well, this person did better than that.
Well, it's not like it's one side. It's both sides of the equation.
Yeah.
It's not a political problem. We have a sociological problem.
A culture problem. We have a society problem.
Politics, people have to realize politics is a fruit, not a root.
Right. It's the
outworking of what's going on in our soul.
That's right. That's right.
So, fixing political problems can be putting lipstick on a pig. Right? It's like, and politicians are famous for that. Like, they just go pass a law, or they'll go throw money at it. Right? They don't actually deal. Politics doesn't deal with root issues.
How many more days do we have?
Well, it's 3 weeks now, isn't it?
Yeah, but they're already and if you get in front of, and that's why I've stayed unplugged this weekend, because last week I kind of got pulled into the whole thing. And they're saying that it could draw out because of the mail-in voting. It could draw out longer than that. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I don't know if I can.
Well, that's true if it's close.
Gosh, I don't.
If it's landslide one way or the other, then
I don't think I can handle it.
Well, you're gonna have to.
Well, I'm gonna have to. I'm in this 6-week body makeover thing that I was
exactly.
And I won't be able to drink.
So go out and work your frustrations off and lose those pounds.
I'm just going to have to be outside on my bike, here in Kansas.
No, it's here's, so where does that leave us? And I don't want this to sound like I'm talking about escapism, because we all have a civic responsibility.
Yeah.
At the same time, we all have to be very, very careful not to get sucked up into the trauma of everything and let it destroy our lives. I mean, if you watch the news long enough, it will destroy you. Like you will be depressed. You know what I mean? You will lose hope.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
You'll lose faith in you. I mean, you will just go down. I mean, it's just,
you'll just feel like, I don't even want to be here. Yeah,
exactly. And so I just think, it's
true.
We got to be careful.
And that's why it's
to not lose control of ourselves. Does that make sense?
That's right.
Yeah.
It's called unplug the TV, unplug,
But
get,
just realize that yes, there's a lot of things happening in the big picture, but you still have your life. You know what I mean? You still have a spouse, maybe, or you have children, you have friends, right? You have, and so, and you see this often in situations where there's a lot of traumatic things going on.
yeah,
People always manage to find a way, even in the most difficult of circumstances,
yes,
right?
they
So don't
do.
lose your humanity. Don't realize that you still have control over a lot of factors in your life.
That's right. You need to stop being reactionary. You control your environment. You
Right.
can. You can.
Well, and not let the larger situation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I watched my grandfather go through that. He would just get, like sick, like his esophagus would, he couldn't breathe because he would get so angry because
Yeah.
of big things happening. You know what I mean? And he would get all, and I was like, wow,
Right.
I don't want to be that guy. I don't want my life to end up being, you know what I mean?
That's right.
My happiness, my sense of well-being, my sense of confidence. You know what I mean?
Well, if I could say anything during the pandemic, I did learn how to unplug the news. Not to be guided by it because it was so conflicting in the early parts, that I was just like, I can't watch this. Like it's confused me more, now I'm like a bunch of confusion up here. So I early, April, May, I was done. I was like,
Right.
I'm done. I'm not watching the news anymore. So I'll watch a feed of something every once in a while just to catch up on what's going on in the
Right.
world, because I probably need to know that. So, but I don't know if I can even trust the reality of what I'm watching. So that's the problem. Is like,
Well, I know
what is it
somebody
that's
was.
really going on?
Well, and you see this. This is what I was alluding to earlier in the show about the experts, right? So we have this. We've been taught in our education system that there's some people that are smarter than us, right? And they're the experts, and we're supposed to listen to them, right?
Yes.
And so we saw this with the beginning of this pandemic, where all these experts were talking. Well, now we're 6 months later, and just like virtually everything else in life, the experts were very wrong.
Right. Exactly.
You see what I mean? So we have to be really, really careful here not to allow ourselves and our lives to get all in a tizzy, right? Because the experts are in panic mode. I mean, even WHO now is challenging the whole concept of shutting down economies and isolation, right? And the reason is because some people didn't follow the rules, and they had the same results as the people that shutting things down didn't actually solve a problem, right? Even though the experts all said it would.
And the problem is it became political. And I like what Desma said. She stopped watching it. Yep. Live in your life. You got to get out there and live your life. I mean, it just is ridiculous.
Right, because there's a whole lot of things we can't control, right? So in other words, you can't control. It's like we end up, you watch the news and you get so caught up in these big issues, which are completely out of your control. And then they end up being the thing that completely, upsets the apple cart in your life. And then you start feeling like everything's in chaos. And it's like, well, no. That just because things are happening up here doesn't mean your life down here, right? You still have a spouse, maybe you have kids, you have grandchildren, you might have a job, you've got a lot. You know what I mean? There are valuable things in your life that are really important to you, and they're still there.
Yeah, and it became politicized instead of stayed on topic of it being a pandemic, it then became this big, huge political thing again. And it's like, come on. Like,
remember, it was George
wasn't
Washington.
for the greater good. At the end of the day, it was not for the greater good. It was just for whatever political swing they wanted to do on it. I thought that we were all coming together at first, and then when it shifted, between medications, vaccines, all of this, it's like it became political, and it blows my mind.
Well, but again, George Washington warned us about this way back in the 1780s.
Mm-hmm.
He prophesied that when political parties start coming into the system, because remember, it was a new phenomena that just started right before the 1800s. Yeah. And he warned us, and he said, I fear the good of the party is going to outweigh the good of the people.
Yeah.
And he warned about the fact that political parties would become an end to themselves, right? That it's the party, not the people, not the country, which becomes the priority. And, you see that, right? And so really,
that's why we need to
I don't want to be, like super negative here, but the truth of it is political parties are controlled by money people, right? And it's a game. It's like a football game, right? And the game that's going on right now is to see which rich people can get their guy into power. And the reason for that is once your guy is in power, you have access to all the big government contracts. You have access to all the money, right? You're in control. And so your team benefits financially.
Yes.
When you're in power. So, that's the game. And we're all out here, and they're all trying to manipulate us to sign up on their team, right?
Right.
And what they do is they throw us crumbs, right?
Well, because we don't know the truth, right? Because we don't know really what's going on.
Right. But you can see, there's big money. I mean, the federal budget and the money that gets thrown out, for military and, all that. So it's a game. It's a big football game, right? That goes back and forth. And in some ways, the people are sort of pawns, right? Because they try to manipulate both sides of the equation. So everybody's getting played right now.
Right. Thanks, Bob. Now you're giving me the vision of them both being quarterbacks.
Well, it's exactly what it is.
That's a scary.
Right.
Yeah. Can we just elect Mahomes? Come on, let's just do it.
So that game gets played.
Let's elect him. I think
it's very difficult. It's very difficult right now to vote because it's like, you got a whole bunch of narcissistic people playing a sport called politics. And we're the fans, and we're all trying to watch this game.
Well, we're not the fans. I'm a concession worker.
A concession worker. But now we have to make a decision, right? So it's and here's what's bad. This is I mean, I don't want to depress everyone. But
I'm getting depressed for the minute,
we're
Bob.
in the same situation we were 4 years ago, where we're having to choose between bad and worse. You know what I mean? It's like and the reason I'm bringing this up is because this is a statement.
This is reality.
God is showing us something here.
Yes.
He's
showing us our hearts.
Right?
He's showing us our hearts. I mean, not ours personally, but showing the heart of our country, the hearts. And it's up to us to change it, though.
Right.
One by one. That's what I say.
Well, and so that's where I bring it back down to, okay, this is happening up here. There's this big thing, but you came to the game with your family. So focus on that. In other words, focus on the things that are in your sphere of influence.
That's right.
Right? So yourself, work on yourself. Find.
Don't be selfish, but don't.
No, but we were talking about fear early on.
Right.
If you could allow yourself right now to get swallowed up with fear because
You
of the
could,
chaos.
and people are, and
Right.
people are losing their hope. They're losing hope so quickly, because they're losing things. They're losing some things through this. I mean, they're no doubt. I
Well,
mean,
what they're losing though are material things.
well, and some
In
people are
some
actually
cases,
losing their
if you
family
lose a
members.
relative,
I mean,
right?
some
then
people
that-
are actually passing from it too.
Right,
So,
exactly. And that's the hard part, right? People are
Right.
losing relatives. and
people
that's
are
painful.
losing people, and they're losing their livelihoods.
Right.
Um,
But that situation is a nature situation, right? It's not a war. It's not like we're we're in a war with another human being. We're fighting a bug right now,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it's a little different. I'm not saying it's any less traumatic. I'm just saying it's not a human conflict. It's a conflict
Well,
with
right.
a bug.
But see, that's the issue, is that other people are saying whether your livelihood it matters or it doesn't.
Right.
And that's where the problem comes in. I mean, I have a lot of people on my Facebook page that have lost jobs.
Right.
But then I have other ones that have lost a job and then gained a job, and they're happier. So, I mean, there could be.
Well, I posted
outcome.
this the other day. It's the reality of it is change is always happening. Change is the only constant.
Yes.
Right. So,
and
so
that's
we got to recognize that you're changing. You went from being a child to an adult, and you're going to be an old person. So we live in a world of change. So static isn't a reality. We're always changing.
True.
Situations are always changing.
That's
so
right.
then what happens is once you recognize that change is normal,
yes,
then what you have to do is develop the skill of adaptability, right? Because people who can adapt do well with change.
Yeah, that's why I haven't had an issue, because I was an ex-military wife. So we were always changing. I mean, we were always adapting. We were always moving.
Well, as you know, the old famous frontline saying they talk about is the generals back there at headquarters calling the guy in the front lines, and he answers on his walkie-talkie, "Well, sir, it's a fluid situation here on the ground." And the reason is because the guys back there at headquarters drew it all up on paper, right? It was a whiteboard strategy. And then you get out there in real life, and it's a constantly fluid changing situation with all kinds of X factors that you didn't anticipate. You have to adapt, right? Yeah. It's a fluid situation on the ground. Right. And so what we know from science is all species and people who can adapt succeed, and those that can't adapt become casualties.
Yeah. And that's why it's very important to understand and hear where you're going to gain your strength from.
Right.
And if your expectation is, okay, today I have this plan, but it might not go as planned, and then you're not going to be upset. Well,
if your security is based on everything external, you're going to have a problem, because you're going to be like a styrofoam cup in the ocean. With every wave, you're going to get tossed. Every time a big ocean liner comes by, you know what I mean?
Right. So controlling your environment, just like we were talking in the very beginning, is like me. I'm going to control my environment of what comes in and out. Right. Controlling your environment is how you're going to adapt well. And controlling your environment means, you make sure, you stay steady and your expectations.
Well, you have to disconnect, right? So, we've been talking, some of the people have been sharing. One way to control your environment is information, right? You can control what information comes in and out. Now, to completely isolate yourself isn't healthy, but at the same time, to be overwhelmed in the information age with all kinds of information that actually causes you to be not healthy, right? we can control relationships,
Right.
right? Who
Right.
we want to interact with, right? If a situation is overwhelming or not healthy and draining you, you
Yes.
isolate from it, right? You put
Yes.
boundaries down. That's what, it's the whole issue of boundaries. We put information boundaries down. You can put relational boundaries down. I mean, I'm sure we could come up with all kinds of things, but there you still have an enormous amount of control over your life.
Right.
You're not a
that
victim
live
in this whole
boundary less are the ones that wreak havoc. They wreak havoc and they draw in havoc. I mean,
Right.
they're the ones in chaos at all times.
right.
You know those people that don't have boundaries. By all of that, you're just like,
Right. Yes, the
It's
constant
crazy.
state of chaos, and remember Peanuts, the Peanuts cartoon.
Yes.
There was a character called Pigpen.
Yes.
That's my friend Alan Parker from
I was gonna say
Amarillo, Texas.
Hey, welcome,
Good to
Alan.
see you, Alan. So remember Pigpen?
Yeah, I do.
And Charles Schultz always had a little tornado over his head, right?
Yes.
Oh, I think we all have little pig pens in our lives, right? It's just like people that show up and it's just like they bring chaos.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I know. And you're exhausted by the time they leave you. Then you're
Right.
like, oh my gosh.
Right.
Of course, I used to be in a codependent lifetime, want to help fix that person up. I'd be throwing Pigpen in the shower.
Right. But I think sometimes
You're like, Pigpen, you got to get in the shower. You just got to get cleaned up, dude.
I just think it's, I think sometimes these cartoon guys, they have these wonderful caricatures, right? Of people. And so
Charlie Brown was a good one. I mean,
right.
if you look, I mean, Charlie Brown was really, and he
stayed
in the middle.
A victim, right? And then so you remember Cartman's Triangle, right?
Yes.
So Lucy was who? The persecutor, right? Lucy.
Oh yeah, man.
Charlie Brown was always the victim. Snoopy was the rescuer.
And Linus was always the peacemaker.
Right. So you have the whole triangle in the thing. But then there was Pigpen always coming through, right? And it's just right. And so I'm just saying that, Schultz did a wonderful job sort of characterizing certain dynamics in our lives that we all face. That's why we all love the cartoon, because we would see ourselves or our situations in these various characters, right? So
I know we all quote it somehow, because the pumpkin patch one is the Great Pumpkin is
the Great Pumpkin.
Soon. And then the way they danced was really cute. And then, of course,
again,
the teacher did what?
But what was so interesting, and I mean, maybe people don't know this, but Schultz was a very strong Christian. He had he had a very strong Judeo-Christian ethic. And so a lot of the, truths were woven into his cartoon, but you didn't know it because he didn't get religious about it. He
didn't. Yeah.
He would just put the truth out there, and we all go, you know, and we laughed at ourselves because it was a caricature. So anyway,
that's right.
I mean, you just got to control the pig pens.
Right. Bye, Nora. Thanks for joining us. Yep. Thanks everybody that did join us today. I realize we're on. We're a minute over. What are you going to do, Bob?
Well,
thanks for bringing that up about Charles Schultz. I did not realize that, and I always loved Charlie Brown. So maybe I'm going to look at it with new eyes now.
Ooh,
interesting. Now I'm going to go back and I always watch the Great Pumpkin,
right?
And then the Thanksgiving one, and then I mean, I should have known that by his Christmas special. I should have known that. Duh.
Right. Yeah, he was just, he just wove those principles into his cartoon.
Mugs up.
All right, dear.
Mugs up.
Time to hit the. And I got to figure out what to do with this light. It's like bothering me.
You were made for this.
Okay.
Believe in yourself. Unplug. plug in with other people, stay connected to people, reach out to people that maybe if you see that they're down and they're getting pulled into the media mess, try to pull them out and have a conversation with them about something else, about their lives or something.
Right.
So this week, carry on with yourself, that hope that you can continue and to spread some light. Okay.
All right.
All right.
Make
Thanks,
it a good
Bob.
one.
I appreciate you. And
Yeah,
thank you,
appreciate you
everyone
too.
that came and joined us today. I appreciate you. So take care.
Take care. Bye, everyone.
Bye.